Honored to have with us today Jennifer Gray Thompson. She's the founder and CEO of After the Fire USA, the nation's leading not-for-profit focused on long-term recovery and resilience in wildfire-affected communities. Her organization is survivor-led and centers on equitable, community-driven recovery. A resident of Sonoma Valley, she entered this work after the 2017 North Bay fires devastated her community and has risen to prominence as a nationally recognized expert in megafire recovery, testifying before Senate, presenting at conferences, and being named to the Forbes 50 over 50 impact list. She has brought her expertise, strategy, and peer support to places like Paradise, Maui, and Los Angeles. We asked her to keynote at CALRC last year, and unfortunately she had other commitments, and we reached out again this year and are so fortunate that she could come share valuable lessons about the 2025 LA fires and other disaster events that have impacted our communities. Her mix of expertise and empathy is a beacon of light and reflects true leadership. Jennifer.
You know, sometimes you're listening to people introduce you and you're like, she sounds cool. Hi, my name is Jennifer Gray Thompson, and I'm so happy to be here with you today. I do want to point out that one of my partners in work is here, Reva Feldman, and she is also, she lives here full-time in Los Angeles. I was born here, she was born in San Francisco, so we flipped for the rest of our lives, and she's been a huge asset to us as we address and work here in the LA fires. So thank you again for having me. I do want to give you a bit of a warning before I move into this, that if you have lost your home in a fire, this will be triggering for you. This is not this, we had a big conference last week. This is not the same thing that I set up for our conference, which was full of fire survivors. This will trigger you. And so I just want to be sensitive to that, let you know in advance. But with this crowd, what I wanted to do was be fully frank with you about what I see. And I think this is worth the risk because I would love to be out of a job. I have stood with so many families and leaders as they look over the destruction of their lives. And I would really love to not do that anymore. And so perhaps one day in my lifetime, I'm 56 years old, maybe not, but that we can actually get to a new point. And I assume that the crowd here are the people on the ground who are going to make sure that that work gets done. The title is Notes from the Front Lines of Pyrocene, but I also want to talk about innovation and iteration after megafire, which really also means before megafire. We are living in the age of fire, and it's only going to get worse. And I know that most of you have a hard time hearing that, although some of you may be very well aware of it. Something I really like to say is, it doesn't matter to me if you believe in climate change, because it believes in you. And I know this because I work in all kinds of communities across the political spectrum. Fire is always where people are. It goes with us wherever we go, but the genie is out of the bottle. Fire is now uncontrollable. In fact, a fire hose, your garden hose will not save you. I wish that the news would stop focusing on the 3 houses saved by a fire hose, because more people die in their driveways. They die with garden hoses in their hands. Ask CAL FIRE. Fire is now uncontrollable, and we're going to see more and more and more catastrophic fire. This is from Time Magazine, July 2025. Flanagan thinks we are living in the pyrocene, the age of fire. It's an idea from the environmental historian Stephen J. Pine. And that fire that picture was taken where I live in Sonoma County in 2017. Since 2017, 35 million plus acres have burned in the United States. By the way, 40 million acres burned in Canada year before last in one summer. And that's when all the smoke came over. Over 90,000 structures have been destroyed. That was pre-LA fires. Land management has pivoted, but we are still very far behind. Studies on health outcomes from wildfire smoke are only a few years old. Los Angeles will actually be the ones who switch this, and I'm very happy to see Sarah Ali here from CAP LA doing amazing work. Megafires are hot. Oh, people ask me all the time, why, Jen, do you say megafires? And I'm like, well, it used to be that a megafire was 100,000 acres or more. Pretty simple. But we now refer to our fires as megafires because they are very hot, very destructive, and they burn very fast, like a football field every 3 seconds. They will destroy your home, like a 2-story home, in 3 minutes, often from the inside out. They get in through embers. That's the Dixie Fire, by the way. So I'm going to have you watch this for a minute. This is from 2021.
Until it does, and it has. The piles of debris, reminders of fires in paradise, the Santa Cruz Hills, and the 2017 Tubbs Fire.
And I woke up in the middle of the night, smelling smoke.
Though Jennifer Gray Thompson's Sonoma home didn't burn in the Tubbs Fire,
My whole life changed. You know, it was like a bomb went off.
in the days after the fire, few knew what to do next.
And we didn't have any navigational help.
That is
outside of
Coffee
the
Park.
official channels of FEMA.
So Thompson and other fire survivors formed a nonprofit group called After the Fire, gathering knowledge about fire recovery and passing it along.
So we come into communities like this and we help them navigate wildfires.
Last week, Thompson walked through the remains of Greenville, meeting with residents like Will Myers
And we did King there.
and Ken Donnell, whose home and store now lay among the rubble.
I have the zoning, the property, and the insurance.
That's awesome.
Thompson's group lets communities know what to expect in the days and years ahead. She helps them navigate federal and state disaster agencies and lets survivors know the outside world is there.
They've been through a trauma, and so I can tell them exactly where to start. But the first thing I want to do is listen.
So this is the edge of Taylor's Mill here.
After the fire's skills have been forged in fire after fire, Thompson worked in the town of Paradise, devastated by the 2018 Camp Fire. She's been in Malibu, Oregon, Davenport, helping lay the first stones of recovery.
And we don't promise them miracles. We can't give them back the day before, but we can help them reimagine what their town will look like.
Thompson's next stop, the home of Plumas County Supervisor Kevin Goss, who was trying to keep the flames from taking his home after losing his Greenville pharmacy.
We don't know everything, but we know everyone who knows everything.
But I need her to help me guide through the different FEMAs and the this and the CalOES and, who to contact and, all that stuff, because I got enough on my plate just trying to console folks.
Are they communicating with you then?
For Thompson, there is sadness, knowing the need for her work won't end soon.
We know that places like Greenville, you're going to see on repeat for the next 10 to 20 years.
So she lends an ear, a bit of advice, sometimes a shoulder.
So we've been talking about this for years. That was the Greenville fire. That was August of 2021. That was pre-Maui fire. That was pre-LA fires. And as I said there in the interview, or as he relayed, I knew that I was going to have to see this over and over and over again, and I would like to not see this over and over again. And we've been talking about this for years. We are fortunate after the fire. We have a national platform. We say it all of the time. But until we all approach it like it is like we are going to war.
We will meet them wherever they are. I will, we will interview with any.
Okay, I know what that's about. Sorry, imperfect week. This is the face that I have all the time. I just want to point out that it's not that the national media is not paying attention. They are. They call us all the time. I did about 50 interviews in 4 weeks after the LA fires. Like, they care during the fire, but we have to care all of the time in the meantime.
I was raised in Sonoma County. I bring this up because your work started with the experience of the Tubbs fire, which was devastating for Sonoma County.
This is from the
there.
LA fires.
How do you compare what we're dealing with here and what can we learn from the Tubbs fire recovery process down here?
We were the first ones out the gate to have a major fire like this, and so I'm so relieved for you all that we have collectively 7.5 more years of experience. I didn't have anybody to call that first year as we were recovering from the North Bay complex fires. which was really across 4 states and 8,900 homes. 43 people lost their lives.
4 counties,
And it was
by the way.
very difficult to do that. But one of the things we did is we created block captains, and this really cool program that we believe is one of the key reasons why we were mostly entirely recovered by year 5. And we believe that that can be true for you. We're actually optimistic that because of the density, of the high density of the loss, it's actually easier to rebuild back in a grid rebuild with fewer contractors, but a bigger footprint. It is much easier than in a rural area. So we are very optimistic for you.
Well, we appreciate your positivity and your...
So my positivity is well-founded. I do think you will see the majority of the Los Angeles fires rebuilt about 85–90% in 5 years from the date of the disaster. You can already see when we drive through the Palisades and Altadena, homes are rising. We never see this many homes rising this soon. We never do. And so we know that we can do it, but it's a matter of how are we going to do it. But let's talk about the state of disaster in America. In over a period of 10 years, we had 173 plus separate billion-dollar events, which cost about 1.2 trillion. Now, those are not the secondary health poor health outcomes or other things that we do not measure appropriately. That's just really in damage to structures and businesses. So in 2023 alone, we had 28 climate-based disasters. We had our worst megafire disaster in 100 years. That is on Maui. This is a photo that I took on Maui in March. They have homes rising. In 2024, we had $27 billion weather and climate disasters. In 2025, NOAA has now elected to stop updating the data sets. The January 2025, excuse me, Southern California wildfires, megafires, are amongst the costliest ever, and estimated damage ranging from very high. We're not really sure, we won't know probably for a couple of years what the numbers are, but some are as high as $250 billion, but the Palisades fire alone, $150 billion in losses. So let's look at those fires really quickly. The Eaton fire, as you know, you have a double disaster here in LA, which was really tough and hard to watch. It was very heartbreaking for everyone to watch, and especially for my team. Riva lives here, had lived in the Palisades, but it was also, for those of us who've navigated megafire, we actually know what's ahead of people. And we knew that we would be there, but we also knew it would be really tough. And to have such a massive megafire and a double disaster was especially devastating. But also we are aware that because of the scope and scale of the disaster here, and because of the personality of the people of Los Angeles, it's very doer. They do, they produce, they create, they direct. A lot of that we do feel and continue to feel that we will have a good outcome at the end of it, but we are sure that you will rebuild fast. We want to know how will you rebuild. Here's the challenge. Megafires have increased 250% since 2014. It's a fact. Pre-LA fires, we had $238 billion in public spending alone just on megafires. And as a crisis, it's only it's 8 years old. We have an 8-year anniversary coming up, maybe 10 if you want to count the Valley Fire in Lake County in 2015. So it's a relatively new crisis. And that's how much we've spent in a short period of time. The post-fire LA updated estimates, here are bigger numbers, insured losses very high, economic loss very high, and we don't even know yet because it's going to take a few years to really understand what happened here. But you can look at, I gave you 3 different sources because I wanted to make sure that you could measure it because they don't really know yet. So here's our choice. This is a very serious choice. We can come running, and we can fix it. We really can. Megafires are not the sea and the sky. They are the land. Land we can do. Homes we can do. These are things we can do. We can mitigate them. We won't ever not have them, but we do not have to suffer like this. Or we can continue to run for our lives. As I said in the beginning, climate change doesn't care whether or not you believe in it. It's not personal to you. Magical thinking will not save us. This is why it matters. This is why we exist. We're the only organization that does what we do. And we go in with messages of hope, and we say we will help you recover, and you can rebuild, and you will reimagine. But we cannot give communities back the day before. But I would love to give communities no days like this. We can and do help communities recover. Take a look at this list. We are fine, but we're tired. These are all the fires that we've worked in. I've only been doing this since October 8th of 2017. And these are all of our fires. And where I live in Sonoma County, it was very rude because we had one major fire in 2017, 2 more in 2019, and a 4th mega fire in 2020 that actually overlapped from the 2017 fires. That's a lot of grief, and that's a lot of loss, and those are real people who lost their homes. And it wasn't just their houses. For many of them, as you know, if you drive through the Palisades or Altadena, you see that they've also lost all the markers of their childhood, where they brought their children home, where they slept at night. It's far more than a home and a loss. It's a trauma. But I do love this quote, and right now it's on the wall of the SE Justice Center, which we love in Pasadena, but I'm also a June Jordan fan because I was an English major. We are the ones we've been waiting for. I think that something that we do a lot is we wait for somebody else to do it. We're like, well, surely this exists, or somebody should do something, but it turns out that we are that somebody. We can't just point fingers and blame government and hope that that works out. We have to influence policy. We have to change how we live in our own homes. We have to do this collectively. But what if we met the moment? I mean, that's why you're here, right? So now I'm going to take you in kind of an odd direction. I would like to note that that is Ken Donnell, who you saw in that video, taking a picture. That's his rebuild. And that took about 2 years. And that rebuild is mass timber. It has a metal skin. It actually doesn't even require the 0 to 5, although I believe in 0 to 5. It has carbon sequestration. It's just a really beautiful reimagining of what you can live, how you can live after a fire. And that's actually Kevin Goss, the supervisor that you met, and he's seeing Kevin's home. But here's where I'm going to take you. Toilets. You're welcome. Good morning. I hear a lot of arguments for why we cannot do this. I hear that it is too expensive, it's too hard, it's too much to think about. You know, what are we going to do? I don't want to change my vents out at my house. I like my rose bushes up against my house. I too like mine. Like, I have to pull mine out of the front. We're doing it this year. I'm not happy about it, but I'm just going to move them back 5 feet. No one's asking you to live in a moonscape. And there's a big push right now to say that moving those things away from your house will not help at all. And it's just simply not true, because people they want to go back to the day before. And we're saying you can't go back to the day before. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but the cultural shift from outdoor plumbing to indoor plumbing was very similar in the arguments. It was seen as waste. Waste seen as unsafe indoors. Why would we do that? You know, it doesn't make any practical sense. It was seen as moral and religious. It's indecent to have mixed gender indoor bathrooms. Let me know if you've heard that lately. Financial, the cost was prohibitive, especially in rural areas, and it is true that the wealthy certainly got indoor plumbing first. And that will also happen with fire-safe homes. And then, of course, suspicion of government mandates and urban elites. See, we don't change that much over a number of years, right? So here's their timeline. 1840s, 1860s, the wealthy got them first because they wanted them. But then in these 1870s and 1900s, we got cholera, typhoid, and so we needed a sewer and water system in cities, because can you imagine how many people were actually coming down with this huge public health crisis? Megafires are also a public health crisis. It's a housing crisis, but it's also a public health crisis. And it's a mental health crisis too. There's so many people suffering in these communities with mental health trauma after it happens. By 1920s, it was common in middle-class urban homes. And then the rural lag remained dominant until the mid-20th century. And now, is there anyone here, raise your hand, who has an outhouse? No. And it was slow, but it didn't mean that they stopped, right? Did somebody raise their hand? I'm very excited. Oh, where?
Just at my camp.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm like, let's talk later. Okay. In 1940, only 45% of US homes had complete plumbing. 1960, federal programs, sometimes you have to mandate this federally and then help to fund it because that's an equity issue, helped modernize rural America. In 1990, 99% of US homes were fully plumbed. Of course, there are the random homes out there that are not, but for the most part, this is the norm. And we don't think about it. We think, well, why would I build an outhouse with my new house? I mean, we can normalize having a very safe homes. We can normalize vents. We can normalize zone 0. And you know, you can give me all the studies that you want telling me zone 0 doesn't work, but it's scientifically based. And one of those scientists, one of those research facilities is IBHS, which is funded by the insurance companies. The insurance companies, you know, for all of their faults, they would like to take your money and not have you burned down. That is within their interest, is to keep your money and hopefully never have to go into another community that has burned down. I am not paid for by the insurance companies. I'm just telling you this is an economic reality. They don't want you to burn down. The science is real, and we can argue about it, but it's not going to change the facts. Fire-safe windows and vents. You know, windows are a privilege when you want good windows. It means that we're going to have to do things. If we're going to dismantle, apparently, the Inflation Reduction Act, give us something else. Okay, fine, but give us something else so that everybody has access to not actually losing everything that they own. And if my house doesn't burn down and your house is 1 or 2 houses down from me, your house will actually maybe not burn down too. And that is the point. We can stop the urban conflagration part of this. We do not have to burn down. Our land use equals our future. Decisions can be locked in and change how we live for the next 50 to 100 years. We can do risk or resilience. What are we going to choose? Do we want typhoid or do we want to put our toilets indoors? I know what I'm going to choose. And we have generational responsibility. We are not the center of the entire universe for the span of time. We are the people who actually have to make the moment. We are the people who look back on other people in history and we admire what they did. And we think, oh, what courage to change a system. Oh, look at them. Well, I'm telling you, we are living in that courage to change the system moment. That is us. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. We are the ones that I want my grandchildren and great-grandchildren to read about. We are the ones who can actually deal with this. I think CCLR is like the coolest nonprofit that probably nobody has ever heard of. I like to tell people about it all of the time because it kind of sits in this very niche space. But they were the first people that I thought about when we were dealing with the remediation issues from all of the toxins that are especially in the Eaton fire, but they're in both fires, but in particular the Eaton fire. They should be getting robust funding and pivoting in order to help all of these families actually remediate and get back. These families did not choose to have their land polluted. They did not make that decision. That was a decision made by another generation, and we are paying for it today. So why would we do that to the next generation? Why not do the very, very best that we can by them? They're a vital, vital partner in soil remediation, which means health, which equals recovery. And what I would really love is in 50 years from now, who's ever living in your house, in your community, to never even really think about it because it's so automatic that you would not have your plants, you know, within 5 feet of your home. But right now we have funding threats, and I am not political in this job at all. I just care, what do people need so they don't burn down? What do they need after they burn down? And we have a really good reputation on Capitol Hill with both sides of the aisle. We do. But if you cut the EPA and if you cut organizations like CCLR, then you leave us sitting in toxic sludge and you leave us like with opportunities which I think as Americans, we should find unacceptable if we can actually improve it, because we can. Less support means a slower recovery, and vulnerable communities get pushed further behind. We can do smarter land use and recycling. We can have stronger buildings. We can do this. Healthier soil, thriving communities. We can do this. We can innovate, we can iterate, we can do all these things. You don't have to invent all of it. Most of it is invented. It's the implementation. It's the policy changes and the funding so that it's equal for everyone. In our jobs, we work in devastation. That is our job. We alleviate, we listen, we coach, we teach, and we learn. We choose the warrior emotion of hope every single day. If you follow Nick Cave, you know exactly what this is from. Because we have choices. We can come running, or we can run for our lives. We believe the world is worth investing our time and our courage, and that means that we have to stand with people time and time again, looking over the exact same landscapes we have seen time and time and time again, and I would really like not to. I would really like that for them, because the amount, the time and the grief and the energy and the money and everything that goes into it is actually so devastating and frustrating when we can do something about it. And you know, Reva and I and my team will continue to show up for all of these communities. We have it in us. We are determined. We will do it. But I would really, really like not to. We believe megafire devastated communities deserve our humanity and our skill set to walk home on a path that has been cleared for them, even if imperfectly. But we also believe, and part of what we do with our megafire community is that we gather them together and we think of how can we not do this anymore? How do we make sure that we're there if it does happen to you, but what if it was rare? I just want to really thank you for having me today and for listening. I know it's a pretty stark message for 8:45 in the morning, but I figured you were the right crowd, you could handle it. And I'm happy to take your questions. Thank you.
Trying to recover, find my voice. Thank you so much for sharing and for the work that you do. I think I can speak on behalf of all of us that we're here to support and to collaborate with you. So think of us as part of your community. We're now going to take a 15-minute break, and let me tell you what will be coming up at 9:30. We have 3 sessions. Jennifer will continue to be on the next panel, Ashes to Action, Tackling Environmental Hazards to Rebuild a More Resilient LA. That will be here. Regulatory Ways, Navigating Oversight in California's Complex Maze is in Section A, and that is running for 2 hours. And Making the Mess Make Sense, Communicating Brownfields Without Causing Panic is in East Wing Activity Room. So please help yourself to some food, take a deep breath, and we'll see you back in 15 minutes.